Hi, good morning. I'm Kristin Omdahl and welcome back to Create, Share, Inspire podcast. This is episode 277 and we are here live in Southwest Florida, waiting on the sun to rise over the buildings and the trees to the east and listening to these gorgeous, loud, rolling waves behind me this morning. This is in the Gulf of Mexico. Good morning, Lisa. Thanks for joining live. Hi, Karen. Hi, Melissa. If you're joining me live, please feel welcome to comment and say hello. If you have any questions for me, please ask them. If you want to let me know what you're working on this morning, I'd love to hear about it. Good morning, Grace. I missed another name, shoot. Yes, it is a bit nippy down here this morning. Good morning, Judy. Hi, Lily. It was 51 when I left the house, and I know that sounds silly to people that live in the north, but it's pretty windy down here, and I'm not moving around, so that makes it pretty chilly for me. Good morning, Chantel. And I'm a southerner, so my blood's pretty thin. But to sit here in the sand with the wind whipping by, I can't do 50 degrees without being bundled up. So I have a hoodie on. Good morning, Edna. I have a hoodie. I have my big down parka. I have Raina, which is one of my crochet hats, on. Hi, Melissa. Thanks for joining live. Good morning, Rachel. Yeah, windy and cool is a bad combo. I agree, Karen, especially when you're going to be sitting still. That's like if I was running around, like Marlon's great going to exercise and train this morning. He'll be totally fine. But sitting still with wind and cool air is a bad combination. Anyway, not when you dress appropriately for it. And check out these waves. How gorgeous are they? The sound is amazing. I love it. So if you're joining live, like I said, please comment, say hi, tell me what you're working on, ask questions. But if you end up watching the recorded version of this podcast, please also feel welcome to say hello and leave any comments or questions you like, because I reply to all of those too. Which brings me to my first announcement today. Those of you who are tech savvy will not probably think that this is that exciting, but I have been working on something behind the scenes for many months. I mean, we're approaching the 1-year anniversary of the podcast. Hi, Pamela. Oh, Pamela's now using her name. She used to be Rab. Welcome, Pamela. We're so happy that you feel welcome to share your name now. That's awesome. Good morning, Kim. So, I started the podcast in December. I have been trying to figure out how to syndicate it to be on iTunes and other platforms for podcasts almost the entire time that we've been here live on YouTube. And I have had the hardest time figuring it out. It finally clicked for me a couple of weeks ago. I went through the process for, I don't know, the umpteenth time. And as of last night, my podcast was approved for iTunes. So if you end up watching, those of you who watch live, wonderful. Those of you who love YouTube, wonderful. Those of you that love Podbean, which is where I host the server that hosts the podcast now. If you like watching on Ravelry, that's great. But now it opens my business and my brand up to another audience, because now if you feel like catching up on old, old episodes, or if you don't have access to any of those other channels, you now have everything on iTunes too. So it took a long time to figure out, and then once I figured it out, iTunes had to go through an approval process, but I got the email last night that it's been approved, so I'm excited about that. So that's one of my announcements this morning. What was another announcement? Does anybody have any questions for me before I go on to my next announcement? Thanks, Karen. Thank you, Christy. Good morning, Karen. Thanks for joining live. Yeah, it just sounds kind of professional, doesn't it? Oh yeah, I'm on iTunes. I don't know. Sometimes it's just the little things that are exciting. So glad to have you guys commenting this morning. It was lonely without you guys yesterday. And in fact, I brought all the books back this morning that I showed yesterday, because I have a feeling that some people might like to ask me to point out certain details or want to see the insides. So I thought I'd do a show and tell of the several books of mine that have been translated into Chinese and Russian, so I thought you guys might like to ask me questions about that. Thank you, Judy. Oh, Karen got 80 handmade gifts yesterday and she started reading through it last night. Yay! I got a ton of notifications that packages arrived yesterday. My email is going ding, 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 because I get the same notification that you get when your packages arrive. So you can imagine how many emails I get on a day that a lot of packages arrive. And so I was really excited last night, knowing that a lot of you have your physical book in your hands now. Good morning, Audrey. Yes, it is chilly. It is about 51 degrees or so. Maybe a little warmer now that the sun's coming up, but it's breezy as well, which is quite chilly. Margaret received hers too and says, thank you for the sturdy packaging. You're welcome. It costs a lot more money to send them properly. I find that when I order books, they don't always come the way I would like them to come, but I do go the extra mile when I ship books and send them in the right kind of packaging so they arrive to you perfect. So thank you for pointing that out. I also wrap each one. I have a funny story about that. I don't know if I've mentioned this to you or not, but last weekend, every time I sell a book, I write an inscription inside to the person and I sign my name. Then I wrap the whole thing in tissue paper with a little branded sticker before putting it in the box. Well, I've had so many orders to send out for the pre-order sale, and anytime a new book launches, there's a ton of work to do, which is awesome. And last weekend I begged Marlon to help me for a little while, and I showed him everything I do, from signing it to packing it in the box. I said, which one of these steps would you like to do? You can wrap it in the tissue like a gift, you can do the shipping box, you can do the shipping label, which part would you like to do? And he said he wanted to do the tissue paper. I'm like, really? I don't know if you've ever wrapped a present before. So I said, okay. So I showed him how to do it, and would you know, he does it, and he does it a ton better than I was doing it. And granted, I was rushing, feeling a lot of pressure to get as many out as possible. I know everybody waited a long time for their books, so I felt a lot of pressure to get them out quickly. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining live. And I looked over at him and I said, Marlon, you've done an amazing job wrapping those books. You care to show me how you did it? I asked him for tips on how to do a more precise job of wrapping books in tissue paper. Like, that will go down as a burned-in memory in my brain for the rest of my life, that not only did he help, but he did a better job, and I had to ask for tips and tricks from him on how he made the packaging so pristine. Good morning. And yeah, who knew? And so he did it exactly the same way I did, but there was one step towards the end where he, instead of being lazy and doing it with one hand on each side, he took two hands for each side of the final flap to fold the flaps over and put the sticker. And he's a 16-year-old athletic boy. He's not into arts and crafts, you know? And so to see him wrap a package and not only be so admired by admiring his work so much and comparing it to my own, but asking him for advice, I mean, that's just, I don't know, it's so funny to me. I bet he was surprised. Yes, Dee, I think he was really surprised. And then he made fun of me for a little while, which I think is great too, because anytime I think a teenager makes fun of you, I think it's meant in a lot, I think it's meant very positively. Thank you, Sherry. I'm so glad you liked the book. Very cute emoji of a book too. That's cute. Okay. Yes, I do have a sweet son, Pamela. Thanks, Thea. He is a great kid. Absolutely. Yep, love him to pieces. He's a sweetheart. Oh, thank you, Edna. Okay, so got a few things to show and tell this morning. Without humility, there is no humanity. Absolutely, Kim. I love being able to ask him for help and love being able, I mean, the whole experience allowed him to shine, and I had no idea that was going to happen, and so what a fortunate experience that was for us. that I didn't plan or see coming. Nothing. It was just, I'm so grateful for it. So, DJ, the men are better at wrapping than the women in your family. Interesting. I just didn't think that he had it in him to be that patient, but he did. Okay, so let's grab some books here. So I'm going to go over them one by one. I was just too impatient and too much of a rush. I felt so much pressure about the other aspects of the job that I just couldn't give it the attention that it needed. And as soon as he showed me that, it reminded me to slow down and do a better job. Now all of you are wondering, I don't wonder if mine was the good one or bad one, because really none of them were bad. I didn't do a horrible job. I'm just saying his were a lot neater than mine. Okay, so here's the book we all know and love, Crochet So Fine. This is the second book that I ever wrote. I believe it came out in 2010. I think Wrapped in Crochet was 2008. Yes, this one's 2010. And so a couple years later, this one was translated into Russian. And a few interesting things on the cover of this one. So here's the front cover. And here's the back cover. And a couple of the things that I find so interesting on the front and back cover, this is not a photo of mine or from the book. These are not photos of mine or from the book, and neither is this one. So a handful of the photos aren't mine. The other difference between, but I mean, you can still recognize several of the projects. Just, I don't even think the cover sweater is on here, but in a smaller version. And then the photos on the back are switched around here. You notice it is a hardcover instead of a paperback. And instead of the pages being a glossy coat, the pages are a matte finish, which I prefer in books, because if you want to write notes, it's a lot easier to write notes in your books. So just like like the Russian books, my new books that I independently published, grab those, 80 Handmade Gifts and Motif Magic. These are both done on matte finish paper, which means that you have the ability to write notes in there if you want to without the ink smearing. Oh, you know what else we could compare is the size of the font. Ooh, this is going to be interesting. So you know how I told you I do larger font in my books now? So all of the books that I independently publish are in 14-point font. So let's compare that with the font in here. Look, it's darker. I use pure black, 14-point, and these are more faint colors and much smaller. So look at that difference. Isn't that a huge difference? Wow, I've never looked at them side by side. Gosh, that makes me really proud though. Because I mean, I always thought it was a good idea, but wow, that's a huge difference. Wow. Wow, I'm looking at it for the same time right with you guys. So if you have any of my older books at home, you could definitely compare them side by side to see for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. So that's the case with Motif Magic and 80 Handmade Gifts are done with the larger font, the clear white pages, and the matte finish on the pages so that you are able to make notes if you wanted to. Okay, so we showed Crochet So Fine, the English versus the Russian, and the inside patterns are pretty much identical except for the language. So let me pull up the same pattern. I can show you that side by side too. I think this is so interesting. I thought you guys might like to see it too. The things that are similar and the things that are different. Okay, so here's the willow bag, one of my favorite projects from this book. And look at those two are pretty much identical. Kim, thank you so much for pointing that out. I think as someone who's been an author and a national teacher for so many years, I have the ability, because I've done so many live events between teaching and signing books and promoting, I have had the amazing opportunity of getting to listen to customer feedback, especially from teaching. And, you know, everybody gets those opportunities, but it's what you do with them, right? You get this information, and it's what you do with it. And if you choose to listen to it, you can either alter your course or stay your course. And this was an opportunity for me to listen to what customers have said about books over the years, about how hard it is to read them, especially when there's shading underneath the font and stuff. And I took that to heart, and when I had the opportunity to independently publish and make those choices myself, it was something that was important to me, because what's the point of making products, and you know I say this all the time, what's the point of making products if my customers don't love them? There's no point. I don't need to be a tree in the forest. What did you use Willow Bag for? It was kind of a yoga bag, but it was actually pretty big, and you could have done all sorts of things with it, but it was great as a yoga bag. It was a very large market bag. You could have used it for any kind of a market bag purpose. So next book we'll look at is Knitting Outside the Swatch, and this is another example of an American book translated to Russian. And notice that it's not only gone from paperback to hardcover, but it even changed size. Crochet So Fine was more of a portrait shape, and so the Russian was very similar in that respect, but with Knitting Outside the Swatch, it was a square book, and the Russian translation was done in a more portrait shape. You will see that almost all of the pictures on here are from the book. This is not a photo from the book, and it's a little out of focus because of the depth of field, but I want to say that that's a crochet doily with knitting needles and yarn, and that has nothing to do with the projects in the book. So I thought that was a little bit interesting, but you know, something that they decided was important for making the book look tantalizing for a Russian audience. So there's the front cover, and here's the back cover. You notice my photo's been taken off of it as well. And then we'll compare a pattern page side by side. The text is really crazy. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. And again, it went from shiny paper to matte paper. So similar but different. Somebody, who knows? Who knows? I have no idea. But you know, it's about what's important to an audience, and it's possible that it was something that they thought was irrelevant, or who knows? Who knows? I wasn't a part of that process. All right, so the next book I'm going to show is The Finer Edge. A lot of you already own this book, and thank you so much, and I'm so glad you love it. This one, you notice, is in the square format, and this is my edging. It's a resource book full of edging, and it's organized by chapter, and you can see the color coding on the edge here. It's color coded by construction style for the edging. I don't sell this one directly anymore, but you can find it on Amazon and anywhere that you normally buy your craft books. Thank you, Grace. So this book was translated into Russian, and it was also translated into Chinese. And you notice that the Russian version was made into a portrait shape, and the Chinese was kept in the same square shape. So let's do two side by side, because it's too much for, you know, my elbow that I pulled a tendon in. I still can't lift anything with it. Okay, so here's the Chinese side by side, and what I liked about this one is that they actually made the cover look exactly the same except for the font, including the back cover. My photo never got on this book either. I'm going to take the plastic wrap off of it. I've never even opened it. And the inside of the book is absolutely identical to the American book. The only difference is the language, obviously. So I'll pull up two pages side by side. 44. And here we go. Identical. Well, almost identical. No, pretty much identical. Yep. All right, so now we'll do that same thing with the Russian version. I'm going to take a quick glance here and see. Okay, now on this book, all the photos on the cover, front and back, are photos from the original book. It's just in a different shape, so you see so it's more of a collage on the front of projects inside the book, instead of showing you the swatches of the resource materials. And then the back has one photo instead of a bunch of photos. And then, and there's a K back there. And that's an American K. I wonder if that's for my first name. Who knows? Don't know. There was one time when this book first arrived, Marlon had a coach that spoke Russian, and so I brought it in. Oh, let's see here. Okay, my name is not even on the front cover. How interesting is that? Because there's my name right there. And so my name's not even on the front cover of that one. But again, who knows when it comes to marketing in other countries? I don't know what's relevant and what isn't. So I'll show you, I'm going to pick a random page, and you can see how they look side by side. So we'll look at 82. Yep, 82. So very similar, except the language is completely different. Oh yeah, there's got to be a ton of marketing differences, including the fact that I would be, you know, a non-commodity maybe. Maybe they don't even know who I am in the craft world there, so maybe that's why my name and my photo were removed from the covers of the books. What's out there, people? Oh yeah. Swimmers and walkers. Now that I'm not envious of at all today. I would not like to be out in that water. It's cold enough sitting here. It is exciting to be an author, absolutely. Yeah, marketing and cultural differences, absolutely, Grace. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. So I just wanted to share all that with you because I find it fascinating. I don't have the answers, but I know that there are differences and different ways that things are marketed, and I just love the fact that I can see those differences and just enjoy it. Thanks, Lisa. So obviously these are just little collector's items on my shelf, but I appreciate having them very much. In fact, they gave me a couple of copies of each one of these translated books, but it's not like I could sell them or anything. But I keep a copy of each one on the bookshelf where I keep all of my books. I keep a special bookshelf for books that I have written. Do Chinese use US or UK crochet stitches? Don't know. I don't know. Yes, Patricia, I get a royalty for books that are sold, for the books that are sold in English, I believe. I don't believe I got royalties for the other ones. I don't know, I'd have to look, but I get royalties for all of the books that are sold on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or anywhere that you sell books. I do get a very small royalty on all of those. Yes. So thank you to anybody who continues to purchase my books. I appreciate it. And then I get a royalty, obviously, on the new books that I independently publish too. So I get a percentage of the book if you buy it from my website, if you buy the ebook, or if you buy them on Amazon or anywhere else they're sold. Yes, Sanchel, it's always a good idea to learn from other people. And you can learn from anybody, I believe. Thanks, Thea. Does anybody have any more questions about the books or want to see anything again? Otherwise, I'll move on. Did I make new earrings? No, I'm still wearing my same pair. I haven't made any new ones. But so many of my friends have commented on them that I think I might try to carve out some time in the next month to make a whole bunch of these and give them as gifts for Christmas this year, because I know a lot of the men in our lives, like the coaches and Marlon's friends, they're going to want food gifts, but so many of my female friends have been admiring my earrings that I'm probably going to make a bunch. They look darker. You know, they look darker because they're sitting inside a black hood and a black hat. There's no sun going through them. If you moved everything out of the way, They look much lighter when you can see through them, but it's very dark with my hat, and I have a black hoodie on under my jacket, see? So. Yep, darker background, that's all it is. So what are my thoughts for handmade gifts from 80 Handmade Gifts? That's a good conversation that can be started now. So I'm definitely going to make these earrings. I'm going to probably make a whole bunch of those. I think I'm going to make some eye pillows too. And I'm definitely going to make some boxes, like the origami box. I'm probably going to make a bunch of those to pack up different candies and stuff. And what else am I making this year? Well, I'm definitely making toffee because I get requested to do toffee every year. So this recipe I'm going to be making for sure. And what else am I going to be making for sure? The spice nuts I've been making every year for several years, but I think I'm going to skip that to do a different one this year. I'm either going to do the chai spiced granola because that was such a hit last year. And since there's so much nuts in the toffee, I'm not going to do 2 nut dishes. I'd like to do the pickles maybe. I'd really like to do the orange cardamom mini muffins and do little boxes of those. I think the cocoa mixes would be really fun to give some people. Yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm at for gifts. And then I'd really like to have some sort of a party at some point, and when I do, I'm going to start making the crackers. I think those crackers would be really fun to do for a party and to wow people with homemade crackers. I have a feeling most people have not had homemade crackers, and I've been making them for a long time, and they're amazing. And so I would really like to introduce more people to homemade crackers and introduce the fact that they're so easy to make too. Now that I'm gluten-free, I'm going to be making the cheese crackers a little bit differently. I'm going to make these with almond flour instead of white flour, and I think that's going to give them an extra nuttiness that's going to be amazing. Probably going to add some Parmesan cheese to it too. KB's getting 2 deliveries today. Good for you. Lisa has not had homemade crackers. The quinoa crackers would be a great gift for someone who's really healthy and vegan in your life. If you are sometimes wondering what to make for people like that, these are gluten-free, dairy-free. I think they're nut-free too. Yeah, I mean, just about as healthy as you get. And if you buy your ingredients at a bulk store like a Costco or somewhere where you can get bulk discounts on these ingredients, they end up not being expensive to make. Sandshell has made my crackers before. Wonderful. Both of them are so easy to make. And there's so many different ways you can alter them. And I put, gluten-free means wheat-free. Yes, that's right, Jan. And so even in the cheese crackers, I gave you lots of suggestions at the end of the recipe for how to mix and match different cheeses or different spices to make them different ways. Okay, does anybody have any other questions? So I have one more announcement for today. It's a lot for a Saturday morning, huh? Nope, no questions from Lisa. All right. Oh no, I have 2 more announcements. I've got one more announcement here, and then I want to remind everybody to please make sure you're on my mailing list. I am working very hard behind the scenes for my annual Black Friday sale, and I think you're going to love what I'm going to be announcing. So the best way to make sure that you get the information as soon as it comes out, because I believe the items that I'm going to put in my Black Friday sale are going to go really quickly. So please make sure you're signed up for my mailing list. The link is in the video description here below, and it's also at the top header on my website. So however you need to check, make sure that you check and see that you're on my mailing list, because I'm going to be announcing my annual Black Friday sale very early on Friday morning. I'm going to have it scheduled to go out super early. And so it'll be before the podcast and anything else. So the best way to get first on the list to know what's going on is to sign up for my mailing list. So if you haven't already done so, now would be a good time. And I'm not going to tell you any more hints. You're going to find out that morning, and then I will also probably do a podcast that morning, and I will talk about and show any of the things that are available. Yeah, I don't go to the stores either, Sandshell, but an online sale for Black Friday is pretty darn easy. You can stay in your PJs, you can be all cozy at home, and you can go shopping for yourself and for holiday gifts. I'm going to have things that you can buy for gifts, and I'm going to have things that you can buy for yourself too. All right. Okay, so needed to say that before I forget. So I've got a lot of work to do behind the scenes, but that's okay. That's what I do. And then my last announcement today is I am finished with all of the knitting and crochet components of all of the projects that are going to be in the first crochet encyclopedia book. So what I mean by that is there is no more knitting or crocheting to do. There's a few minor things to weave in loose ends. I will be lining 2 pieces, so I still need to sew that in. There will be a little bit of hardware that's arriving today for at least one of the pieces, but other than that, we are on to photography and finishing up the patterns. So I feel really, really good about that. So this book is really coming along nicely. I am always busy, Judy, you know that. Yeah, so quick recap of the projects that I showed before as well. Oh, I thought I wove in all the ends. Looks like I did not. I've got one more to go here. So here's the gingham check baby blanket done in Biseau baby yarn. Here is the striped shawl with picot edging in Biseau tender yarn. Here is, oh, this one's going to be so pretty. Here's a bowl that I'm making, and I'm going to add gold leaf around the edge of it. I haven't decided if I'm going to felt it or harden it. I might use that hardening thing that I did for some of the projects in 80 Handmade Gifts. Remember, like those bowls that I made really hard? Well, I'm going to probably do that or felt this to make it sturdy, and then I'm going to add gold leaf around the lip of it. It's going to be gorgeous. And then I've got a cowl, and that's done in Biseau Brave yarn. This is a cowl done in Biseau Cozy yarn. Love how the colors turned out in that. This is unblocked, and ends aren't woven in yet, but this is a placemat done in Biseau Sporty yarn, and I love the edging I put on the edge of that. And then here is one of the bags that I made with hexagon motifs. So I'll probably be putting handles at these 2 points and lining this one. And then, are you ready? I can't wait for this one. I made an envelope clutch. I still have ends. I made an envelope clutch with holding Biseau Soulful and Biseau Dazzling yarn together. So I'm going to undo it. It's not sewn together yet, so you can see this gorgeous texture. How beautiful is that going to be? I mean, my God. Unbelievable. So let me just show you real quick. This is what it will look like closed. And I've got gold chain hardware coming to either put a handle on it this way or do a wristlet handle this way. And so I still need to sew it together. I need to line it, and then I need to add the hardware to it. That's the one I was working on the car, absolutely. Yeah, I can't wait to finish it, Lisa. I'm so excited. So this one takes 1 spool of Biseau Dazzling sequin yarn and a partial ball of Biseau Soulful. But look at those sequins. So now I just need to figure out what kind of lining. I think gold lame satin might be really gorgeous on there, or I don't know. And maybe it doesn't need lining. That's possible too. I think it does. And I do believe that this one needs lining too. I think lining will give stability to this bag. So all of those are mostly done. So you see what I meant? I'm not done, but all of the knitting and crochet portion of it is done. So there's a little lining left to do, a little hardware left to do, and then weaving in a couple more loose ends. I've done most of those, and blocking photography, and then finishing the layout of the book, which is 90% done right now. Oh, patterns. The patterns are written, but they need to be tweaked before going on to editing. I think it needs lining too, Lisa. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it today, Sherry. Wow, we went over too. So thanks everybody for your patience for me going over. All that stuff back in my good old Dolly. Dolly's got a workout today. She's got all those books and all those bags. I brought more samples too in case we had time, but we don't. So we'll do those another time. Well, hi. We've got a crow here that wants to say hi. Good morning. If you get a chance and you are on either Facebook or Instagram, I shared a post this morning of, I shared a post talking about how I used to really despise birds, but that meeting Curious George here during the podcast changed not only changed my opinion about birds, but it's also helped me grow to love them as an animal in the universe again, like I used to. So I posted a photo of George and posted a quote and talked about the story of how I have been attacked by birds several times in my life, and it wasn't until we met Curious George that I was able to overcome all that and not be terrified of birds anymore. So if you get a chance, I have that story on Facebook and Instagram this morning. So we are out of time. Let's take this last minute to look out on this gorgeous view. Soak it. See if you can see the water. Can you see enough of it? Let's soak in the colors, the sounds of the waves, and set our intentions for the whole weekend. Thanks so much everybody for taking time out of your busy day to spend a few minutes here with me. I hope you enjoyed the sound of the waves, the beautiful scenery, my show and tells, chatting with me and everyone else here. Let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.